Say it with me, for we walk by faith, not by sight. Hey guys, welcome to Cheap Old Cars and Corners. In today's video, we're going to see how much should you spend on your car? How far should you go on things? This is my blue Bullitt. I have about $2,300 in the suspension as it sits right here. And I've got this green Bullitt here, okay? Now, despite what it looks like, Cobra bumper, Mach 1 hood, and all that stuff, the car is really very stock. The suspension is stock height. It has Coney shocks on it, the Coney orange. So, I mean, honestly, those are even a little bit softer than the factory shocks and struts that were on it. So, I mean, I kind of want to say, I've got $500 in shocks and struts on this car, but it needed, at 100,000 miles, it needed shocks and struts anyway. And the Coney ones are softer than the factory ones. So, I'm going to say I have no money in the suspension mods on this. Yeah, I've redone the tie rods and the ball joints, the control arm bushings, and, all that stuff here. I've put new steering rack bushings in it and stuff, but it's all rubber bushings, not polyurethane or anything like that. So even though it has some looks stuff, the car is very stock. So this car has Maximum Motorsports coilover kits on Bilstein struts in the front, Maximum Motorsports tubular control arms, bolt-in subframe connectors. Right now I've got some weld-in ones I need to put in. And then in the rear we have H&R Super Sport springs with Maximum Motorsports adjustable rear control arms. Coney's in the rear right now, but it will go to Bilstein's when I do the IRS. Yeah, that's over $2,300 in parts. The real question is all this money I've got in this one worth it? So let's say the shocks and struts had to be replaced no matter what. The Coney ones like I have on that car are $500. The Bilstein ones on this car are $300. More than that, they're $800. So let's say I have $2,300 in this car. Let's take $500 out of that because it needed shocks and struts anyway. And so just look at the price of modifications are going further than I needed to. I take off $2,300 minus $500. That's going to be $1,800. Really, anymore $1,800 isn't that much, but is $1,800 in mods on a Bullitt really worth it? Now, if you have a GT, okay, and most of these Mustangs were GTs, there's definitely some stuff that's worth it, right? In my opinion, GTs have springs that are just entirely too soft. They're just floppy, and the V6 cars are even worse. If you already have like a Bullitt or a Mach 1, are all these suspension mods worth it? Is spending thousands of dollars in suspension worth it? There's some things that are definitely worth it, but kind of the reason I was leaning towards Bullitts in the first place is because they were already modded, right? So they already had stiffer front and rear springs. They already sat a little bit lower. They already had Cobra brakes. They already had bolt-in subframe connectors. Definitely not as good as weld-in, but it's better than nothing by a little bit. And I obviously on the Bullitts, I like the looks stuff. They have the side skirts that roll under and the cut notch back C-pillar thing here. No scoops, and I like the look of them. But the biggest thing for me about the Bullitt and the reason that it was special to me was it already came with stiffer lowering springs, stiffer shocks and struts, different sway bars that were tuned for the car specifically, bigger brakes. These are all things that people do to GTs anyway. You're paying just a little bit extra, like $1,000 extra, let's say 1,000 to 1,500 extra. And out of that, you're getting springs, better shocks. Now, stuff does have to be replaced eventually, right? But you're getting springs and brakes and all this stuff. They're tuned to work together as all kind of a package. And different sway bars. I don't want to say better because there were stiffer sway bars and stuff, but the sway bar package that came with the Bullitt worked really well with the springs that were on it. The car was more neutral than other cars in at-limit cornering. Is all that worth it on this? And I haven't even taken into account, I haven't even talked about my Corbeau seats. The Corbeau seats were one of the largest improvements to this car's handling that I've ever done. Do seats change the handling of a car? Nope. They hold me in place though, and I'm not having to brace myself, and I'm not all over the place. And the Bullitt already has seats with fairly big bolsters. They're a lot better than the GT seats. And I've definitely pushed these cars to the point where the rear end starts doing its weird turning thing and stuff. And when we take them out and drive them, I'm going to have that issue in the green car. And so I'm going to go ahead and say up front before I drive them and kind of review them back to back, the rear lower control arms is 1,000% worth the money. Having the stiffer bushings and the stiffer arm, you can take off the quad shock, very worth the money. They're $200 or $300, right? I don't remember exactly, but then this one has the $400 Sport Series adjustable control arm that you can raise and lower the car. Is that extra bit worth it? That actually might be worth it to spend an extra $100 to get the adjustable ones, because then it's adjustable. All right, so let's take them out and drive them. I'm going to drive the green one first and then this one right after it. And I'm just going to be up here in the neighborhood, go through some corners kind of quick, nothing crazy. Not going to go out on a big back road. Just how do they feel over bumps? And these roads up here are really bumpy. So bumps, whipping through a corner kind of fast, just goofing off in town. And yeah, let's just see how they compare. One thing I can tell you about this car is it's definitely more comfortable. Here comes a C6 Corvette. You guys might have saw it there in the as it come by me. Definitely more comfortable, but the dampers are still, even though the Coney orange one, they're supposed to be good with these springs, they're still too soft, especially in the rear. Yeah, they're too soft in the rear. I hit a bump and it like feels like it compresses too much and then springs me back up. So that's right there. That's an under controlled or an under damped spring. And at these low speed things, like I went through that 90 at 25, I'm doing just under 30 and I'm just gonna whip this through here. Like, it's not bad, but there's some body roll. You can feel the front trying to come up a little bit. You know, the car's got some flex and some chassis creak and different things, and I definitely, it was a little tight fit there. I definitely feel the bumps less than I hear them. So this little section down through here just got a bunch of sharp bumps. I used this in my coilover video the other day. Here's a car sitting on the road and the sidewalk, and I can't see around them. That's a horrible place to park. Yeah, I hit that manhole cover. That wasn't bad. So what I have done is gone ahead and made that blue Bullitt ride worse, which is fine because I want it to perform better, right? So one thing that I've noticed, and I'll say the H&R Super Sports with the Coney orange shocks rode better than a factory Bullitt, and that's true. The factory Bullitt, which the blue one had its full factory suspension on it when I got it, so springs and shocks and struts, the Takiko black ones, that thing rode pretty stiff, surprisingly stiff. Oh yeah, I'm going to take this corner quickish. When I went to the different package on it, it was much better, but this one is not bad with the 600 pound front springs, 250 pound rear springs, and the Coney orange. Like I showed you, I hit that one bump. You guys probably saw me bounce up out of the seat almost. They're underdamped, especially for the rear, but it rides pretty good. It's a good cruiser. I would prefer stiffer valving on the rear shocks. And here's a good bump. That one didn't pop me back up. You can feel the body roll. I'm kind of just back and forth here, and you can kind of feel the car, but the main thing is I'm kind of moving in the seat. These seats have decent bolsters, and they're not horrible. I'm a big guy, I know that, but they would hold me in place better if the seats had some cloth in them, or velour, or microfiber, or whatever in the center. That would be better. Down to second gear here, kind of go through this corner a little fast. And I like using these roads. Now, I've complained about YouTubers going out and just driving down a straight road and just wiggling their wheel and go, oh yeah, this thing handles great. There's some stuff you can do there. Like this road, I'm going to use these roads for pump tests because there's just some frost heaves. There's not a lot of frost heaves around here where I live, but definitely frost heaves on this road. But you can feel that body roll in the front. The rear feels pretty good. And then, in faster corners, this has a little bit of lean to it, not much. The Mach 1 has more with the same springs and the higher center of gravity of the engine. Bump, bump. But yeah, it's not bad. Let's look at the blue Bullitt. So this car is stiffer, but a lot of what I'm feeling in terms of the stiffness of the bumps is from the seats. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go down here and take a similar path to what I did in the green car. And back to back, it's interesting because I can tell that most of this car feeling sharper is having seats that are much less cushy. Whoa, that's bright. Right in my face. Here's some good bumps. Whoa, 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 whoa. This car is definitely stiffer. Definitely stiffer. And it's also got 14 gears compared to the green car's 327, so big difference. The clutch is different. It's like driving a completely different car. Oh wow, that was a huge difference. You give up a little bit of that, you know, cush ride to have the better performing suspension. Going in fourth, a little bit of third. All right, a little bit under 30. And just whip onto this other road here. Yeah, I mean, that was less body roll for sure. And with the Bilsteins, it's way more controlled. Honestly, I think just get Bilsteins. I know they're more expensive, but, and I don't want to say just get Bilsteins. Like the Coney Yellow single adjustables have really good valving and everything, and they're even, you know, maybe a step above the Bilsteins, but you don't really need those for the street a lot of times, like street cornering stuff. Another bump. See, when I hit those bumps right there, like I didn't do the bouncy thing. It was just like da 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 and just controlled and stay in the seat. I just love the Bilsteins. I really do. Let's see how this one is. Honestly, that felt better than the green Bullitt with its factory springs. So that's crazy. There's some bumps that are softer just because the suspension is so much more controlled now. It blows my mind sometimes. The cornering's much flatter. There's still some body roll. And if I was doing autocross at higher speeds, there's going to be more force transferred and stuff. But, you know, I don't do autocross. Man, that even back there, that was better. It's still uncomfortable, those frost tees, but it's better. And I haven't taken this on any longer drives yet. And, you know, people will say that the 275s are too soft and this and that. But I have proven in one of my other videos that they are, even with the less bind in the suspension, the 275 coilover is still a stiffer spring. You know, there's less body roll than the H&R Super Sport. It's probably not stiffer than the H&R Race though. Probably very similar in terms of body roll. But it's going to ride better because of the less bind in the suspension. How cool is this with both front Cobra bumpers? That's just awesome. Guys, I don't really know the answer here. There's two birds on my roof staring at me. I don't really know the answer to my question that I started out this video with. I think this is one you have to answer for yourself. Is it worth it to you to do it? Because this car, like I said, it's about, if we take out that, you know, the price for the basic Conies, this car has $1,800 in suspension mods on it right now. And this car has maintenance. This car corners well, enough for what it is, right? You can go out on the back road in this car and it's going to have more body roll and you're going to get into the weird thing where the rear does its weird steering stuff. But that's not horrible. For a couple $100, you can get some rear lower control arms that fix that rear steering issue for the most part. And that is something I would highly recommend you do. The rear lower control arms, I think, is a must. Now, I haven't done the weld-on subframe connectors on either of these cars yet. I'm going to do it on this one very soon. And I will report back on that, like how much of a change, you know, is it something noticeable that you can feel? Is there less cow flex or anything, you know, dash rattles and stuff? Yeah, we're going to see how that goes. But I'll be honest, I'm a little conflicted right now. For the money I spent on this one, you know, if you're going to do like just basic springs, so I forgot the caster camber plates when I said the 1800 earlier, so let's call that 2000 in mods. But let's say you're going to do springs, so $350 for springs and $250 for caster camber plates, that's $600. And then $200 for rear lower control arms, so that's $800. And then you need to get, if you're going to replace your shocks and struts anyway, and then, you know, you're going to say you're going to get the step up to the Bilsteins, which I think you should, the $300 over what the Conies cost, you're looking at, you know, $1,100, $1,200 in mods. And then it's like, okay, well, so for that $1,100, $1,200, you're going to get pretty much everything this does in corners. Then you go, okay, is it worth it for that extra $600 or so? Let's say $700, $800 to have the adjustable ride height at that point. So that's going to be up to you. I think it's worth it for me to get my car exactly how I want it to be. But yeah, I mean, for you, it's your money. So you tell me, let me know in the comments, what would you do? What do you think's worth it? Is just getting like a Bullitt for a little bit more than a GT and having the better brakes and the stiffer suspension and all that stuff from the factory, is that good enough for you? Or do you need to take it further? I don't know. Let me know, guys. Isn't that just cool? That's just awesome. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I hope that you did. I'm trying to make fun videos for people to enjoy and be entertained. Maybe learn something and be entertained. Because when I go on YouTube, I want to either learn something or be entertained. So I'm going to try to do both while talking about Mustangs. And hopefully, eventually, we'll be talking about Trans Ams, Camaros, Corvettes, all kinds of fun stuff. I need a white one so I can have red, white, and blue. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.